Hi, this is Nate Stout, and this is a MIS 2113 work along video. What I would like you to do is have Access available today as we work through developing a new database table. So, what I want you to do is have Access up and running, and what we're going to do is create a file, brand new file, and we will end up saving it to our desktop. You'll want to keep it on the start page of Access, Microsoft Access. It should give me a spot right here for a blank new database. I'm going to click on that. You click on yours. On the right side, it's going to give me database 13 ACCDB. That's the file extension for a database file. And yours may be different because you may not have started previous databases. For me, mine is actually defaulting to My Documents. I can click on the Browse for a location, and it brings up the default folder for the files that we would save. Notice that I've actually come in and played with a lot of databases. I've just named them. These are probably not the most appropriate names to use for our databases because we don't remember what was I doing with database 1, what was database 4, what was database 10. So you want to have good names on them that make sense. What we're going to do is click on the desktop. So I want to go back to the desktop, and I already have a file there, database example. We're going to come in and we're going to change this to work along, because this is a work along video, and we're going to call this new table. So work along new table, just so that I know that it's mine. I'm actually going to go back to the front. I'm going to put on Stout 2040 underscore. That way I've got my username, my 4x4. I know it's mine. That's what I'd like you to do, is put your 4x4 at the front, and then you know it's a work along new table. Say OK. It's going to put it in here, and it now is going to indicate that I want it on the desktop, so I'm going to say create. And what it comes up with is a database with a starter table in it. You can see the table results, the information stored in it, in which case this one has a record of 1 and there's no data in it, so it's empty. But then I can also look behind the scenes in the design mode, and that's what we need to actually go into here at the beginning so that we can start to design the components or the characteristics of the table. This shows that it's actually called Table 1. This button, this icon right up here, has two components. This is actually showing me the view, and this will default to the design view, or I can click down here and on the view with the little drop down and give me a choice of data sheet view, which is where I'm at right now, or the design view. Either one. So if I click on the design, I want to go back behind the scenes. It's going to come up and say, hey, do you want to name it Table 1? No, let's actually create a customer table. So I'm going to type in customer and press OK. This is the table behind the scenes. It allows me to show the different fields, which are the different characteristic or attributes of a customer that I'm collecting. It's going to give me an ID as the first field name with an auto number. Auto number is the first data type I want to cover. I have a selection of different data types here, but I am going to select have auto number be the first one. Now in this one I am going to actually change the field name because I want to always start all my fields in customer with cust underscore. In this case, cust, C-U-S-T underscore, is going to be on the beginning of each field name, so that when I look at all my field names, I recognize that this field has to do with a customer. It doesn't have to do with a vendor, doesn't have to do with a product or anything like that. It's customer. The ID here is a unique identifier. Primary key here, that's the little key that you're seeing right in this area right here. And customer name, and auto number means that the system will automatically provide a number for the customer ID. I don't need to worry about it, so I will not enter it and I will not change it. Auto number is, if I look down here in the field properties, is actually a long integer, which is a type of number. can click down in the next row of that column for the field name, and then I'm going to put in cust and first name. Notice that I put in capital letters starting off each word, so I have cust first name. In this case, I hit my tab key. Hit your tab key. It's going to come up with text. Text works out well because customer first name should be text. Now when I look down here, it's going to give me field size of 255. Field size for text, you want to use something that's more appropriate. First name, I don't know of any first names that are 255 characters wide. 255 is the default, but let's pop that back. Let's say 35. That seems more reasonable. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to say cust, and then last name, and again capitalizing. You'll see that I always capitalize the first letter of each name, a descriptive name in the field name, and again text is fine, but I'm going to come down, and last name I could have hyphenated, things like that. I'm going to pop that in at 50. Now customer, I might have to store something like customer as of. When did they become a customer? Now for that one, I really want date. Now I know that I can type the first letter of my different data types. See, I've got memo, number, date, and time. So date and time. Okay. So I could actually just type the letter D. And when I do, it comes up with date and time. And that's actually what I want. Now notice that my formats and my properties have changed in here. And that's because it's associated with the date and time data type. Now, cust credit limit. Now that has to do with currency. I know that that's always going to be a value, and so a dollar value. And so I'm actually going to type a C, and there it is, currency. So that one's going to come up as currency. All right. Now, I could also put in there email if I have cust email. And for that, I want H, hyperlink. I want a hyperlink, and the hyperlink allows me to put in an address or an email in this case, and it will actually hyperlink me to that. In this case, it would bring up my email system and automatically generate an email once I start or if I click on a customer's email. I could also put in cust. Now for cust phone, you may think that it's numerical values, so I'm going to put in a number. Customer phone should actually be text. And here's the general rule that people have in developing databases in determining that if it should be a text or a numerical data type. If you're actually going to be doing calculations, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, things like that, then you definitely need it to be numbers. But if you're not, if it's actually an identifier, it's like Social Security number, your phone number, your student ID, we don't add those. In fact, if I actually put them in as numbers, if I had a number like 002576, the number would show up as 2576. The zeros would disappear if it's stored as a numeric value. But in an identifier like a Social Security number or phone numbers or student numbers, any leading zeros need to be shown. They're part of the identifier. Thus, anytime you have text or anytime you have categories which are not being used in mathematical equations, you really need to put them in as text. Catch that. You need to put them in as text. Okay? So phone number, I have text, that's 255. 255 is too many. 10 should do it, because I have 3 for the area code, 3 for the prefix, 4 for the number, so that's 10 digits. So I'm just going to put those in. And then I may have something called cust notes. Now cust note, I'll change it to notes. Cust notes. That may be where I put in notes about the customer, so that as I'm working with the customer, I can put in things about them that will help me work with them. Now for that, 255 is probably going to be too short. So on that one, memo, Cust VIP. And in this case, I may want to say the customer is a VIP, a very important customer, or is just a normal customer, in which they're important too. But very important customers, I get perks of some extra component. And for that, I'm going to put in a yes/no. I'm going to put in a yes/no so you get a sample of that. So if you need to pause at any point, just pause the video, make sure you've got these in as I do, and you will be set. So, we're not going to worry about attachment. We're not going to worry about lookup wizard at this point, or the OLE object. So we've got all of them. Let's do a number one again. So let's do number, and for that, let's just say customer. Now in this case, I've got number of children. I'm going to change this over to number. Notice it does do long integer. Long integer is fine. So here are the different fields. Here's the different data types. I'm going to click up here, or I can click Control S. Notice it says Control S. I can click Save, and then I can go back to regular view, and customer ID, I can put that in. Well, if I try to type in anything, it's not going to let me, so I'm going to tab. I'm going to tab, and so customer first name, Nate Stout, as of. Notice that since I put it in as a date, it actually comes up with a little calendar here. So you can say, oh yeah, he was as of today, or he was as of February 1st. Customer credit limit, and notice I can resize these as needed. Customer credit limit, we're going to put that in as $5,000. My email, kstout@ou.edu. Notice that comes in as blue. Also notice that when I'm hovering over my others, that just shows that I'm on those, but when I click on this, or when I hover over this, it changes finger that would allow me to click and start up my email. Customer phone, I can toss that in. Notes, really good customer. Notice VIP is a yes/no, so it's actually just a checkbox. It's just a checkbox. That's yes, and I need to expand that out. Customer number of children, 4. Hit my tab, and I'm now down here. So, what we have now learned is this is the front of the stage. This is the actual view. I can slide it back and forth. Each row is a record, so I now have record 1 of 1. As I add records, these are the characteristics or the different attributes of each instance. This customer ID is going to be a unique instance. It's going to identify me and no one else, and so it's only going to be there one time. So I can come back into design view, the pencil with the triangle, and you can see what you've actually typed. Customer ID, first, last name, all the different characteristics. I can look at their field properties down below. Things like the field size, whether or not it's a long integer versus decimal, things like that. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to say save the changes. What you should have is a customer, which is a table. It's a customer table that's sitting in your user, your 4x4, work along new table. This is a table that you have actually created. You can close it, and you have completed this work along task. Keep this file for your review purposes. This is Nate signing off. Hope you're having a good day.